I think where Julie made a tremendous influence was in the fact that she was out there and she was telling the stories. She was telling stories about organizations. She was telling stories about businesses. She was giving people the basic information that they needed.
When she talks about individual causes, when she tells a story about a philanthropist who's in this town or a community leader, she helps enrich the entire community that way.
I think the most significant thing, even though she owns Scene magazine, I often refer to her as Miss Behind the Scenes. Her impact is such that she's involved in all kinds of projects ranging anywhere from the publications to sponsorships to helping community members be able to connect with each other. So she's one of these people that you don't always see her, but you feel her influence in so many different places.
Julie Milton was born Julia Peterson on August 31st, 1954 in the Bronx, New York.
I was born in Fitch Sanatorium. Not sure what that means, but my mom says it was a really upscale hospital. I hope she knows what she was talking about.
She was the youngest of 3 children, born to John and Connie Peterson. Her sister Christine, 3.5 years older, and her brother Robert, a 1.5 years older. The Bronx was a different place then. Everyone knew everyone, and neighbors helped one another. She lived close to many family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. They were a close-knit family.
Well, it certainly was quite a different time. It was definitely the Ozzie and Harriet years, and family at home for dinner at 6, and kids out playing after school, and I had a wonderful, wonderful childhood and great friends and family. We had family all around us growing up. Grandma and Grandpa, aunts and uncles, Sunday dinner all together. It was really quite special.
Her father was a construction worker and worked long hours, but when he was home, he was focused on his family.
Came home every night. We wanted his love and attention and honor as well, and he was a smart man. He used to challenge us every night, asking us questions, making sure we paid attention in school. Unfortunately, he had a bad heart and he died way too young in life. He was only 47 when he passed.
Her mother was a stay-at-home mom and always there for Julie and her siblings.
She was always there for us, taking care of us. Everything was perfect all the time. Until when my dad died, she was forced to learn to drive and go to work for the first time. And I was so proud of her. She did so well and drove herself to Connecticut, to another state, and learning to drive in her 40s. So she's an amazing woman, and she's with me today, and she's going to be 92 in a couple of months.
Julie attended Catholic school her entire life, beginning elementary school at Our Lady of Grace until she was in 3rd grade, and then the family moved to St. Lucy's Parish.
I was there from when I was 3rd grade through 8th grade, and I remember, just being a normal kid at that time, doing well. Enjoying it. I used to walk to and from school every day, which was probably the equivalent of 15 city blocks, even coming home for lunch during the day. So we got our exercise, that's for sure.
She was always a good student who would proudly bring home a report card filled with straight A's.
I was one of those kids I think all the other kids hated because I was always the monitor. I was always best in my class. I was always proper and never talked out of turn.
She loved sports, especially baseball and football. An athlete, she played on the Catholic Youth Organization team softball team.
I was on the city championship girls softball team for the Catholic Youth Organization.
Baseball was her passion, and she could quote every statistic of every player. Going to Yankee Stadium was always a highlight in her week.
I used to travel the train to Yankee Stadium and sit in the bleachers and wait for Mickey Mantle to come out, and even got his autograph.
She also loved the written word. Whenever she had a chance, she was writing. And when she was 10 years old, it paid off.
I used to enter a lot of contests, and I won a trip to the World's Fair in 1964 because I won first place in a contest I entered.
Her parents emphasized the importance of a good education and worked hard to put their children in private school. She attended St. Barnabas High School in the Bronx.
That was all girls, and our brother's school was Mount St. Michael, and we used to have joint dances and things like that. So that was another enjoyable time. I excelled there as well. In fact, I scored the highest in my class on my SATs.
She was active in high school, serving as Red Cross representative. While she loved to write, she also enjoyed math.
I don't know why. I have no clue to this day, because I'm not even very good in math today. But I loved math back then, and the more in-depth it got, whether it was, from calculus to trigonometry to advanced trig, I took it all and I loved it and I excelled in it.
Julie graduated from high school in 1972 and set her sights on Fordham University.
I always wanted to go to Fordham. It was in my neighborhood. I loved the Rose Hill campus. I loved the Jesuits. I thought that this was going to be so great, and it was. It was beautiful there, and I enjoyed my time, and that's where I started studying communications and journalism.
Through her love of sports, she had developed a teenage dream of becoming the first female sports reporter.
I knew everything about baseball, football, basketball. The only sport I didn't care for so much was hockey, but everything else I could quote you statistics, I knew every player, I knew everything that was going on. So, I always had a love of sports and wanted to be the first female in the locker room. Now that was pretty ambitious, because you have to remember this was the 70s. That wasn't even thought of back then.
All that changed in 1974 when Julie's dad died. Julie gave up her dream of becoming that first female sports reporter and landed an executive position with Rapid American Corporation, a Fortune 500 conglomerate.
Which was chaired by a man named Rickless. He was known as the father of the leveraged buyout. And I was just very young, and I didn't even realize the environment I was working in and the people I was surrounded by. But all I know is they recognized my ability pretty early on, and I was very, very fortunate to rise up through the ranks very quickly with that company. In fact, in just a couple of years, I became his executive assistant, and I worked there for 17 years.
Their businesses included International Playtex, Shenley Corporation, Lerner Shops, McCrory Corporation, BVD, Fabergé, Elizabeth Arden, and more. Within just a few years, Julie quickly climbed the corporate ladder and reported directly to the chairman of the board and president, Rickless.
I was a spokesperson, liaison, facilitator for a lot of the businesses that he owned, and I worked directly with the presidents and the chairman of those companies as well. So I got to have a lot of different experiences in my life. He also owned the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas. He owned a movie production company. And some people may remember a singer-actress named Pia Zadora. He was married to her.
Her position provided her the opportunity to meet high-profile business people and celebrities, including Frank Sinatra. She also worked with boxing promoter Don King to help bring big-card boxing matches to the Hotel Convention Center.
One night, I remember driving in the limo with Joe DiMaggio to go see the Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns fight. So that was pretty fun.
Rickless also had an extensive corporate modern art collection, as well as personal fine art collection, which included works by Picasso, Monet, Warhol, and many others. Julie attended fine art auctions around the world to assist in purchasing these works, and was involved with loaning pieces from the corporate collection to museums, including the Modern Museum of Art in New York.
We would donate art to some museums, and we would have exhibition openings, whether in Tel Aviv or New York, and I got to experience those. I remember going to the sale of the Duchess of Windsor's jewels in Geneva, Switzerland. That was quite the experience.
In October 1984, Julie was featured along with several other female Manhattan executives in Avenue magazine. A few years later, in 1987, she met New York Mets manager Davey Johnson, who the year before had just come off of winning the World Series. After dating a few years, the couple became engaged.
We had a 5-year relationship, and he was the reason I moved to Florida. I moved to Winter Park, Florida, which is where he was from, And when the relationship didn't work out, I stayed there for a while and married my first husband.
Her new husband was Angelo Marini, an entrepreneur in the food industry. They were majority shareholders in Galaxy Nutritional Foods, a company Marini founded which became the premier U.S. producer of a diverse line of plant-based dairy alternatives.
We were the first to bring soy cheese to market. Soy cheese, rice cheese, vegan cheese, almond cheese, you name it, all the fake cheeses. I actually did a lot of the marketing for the company, and I taught myself how to be the corporate secretary. Because we were publicly traded, I dealt with all the SEC reporting, but I enjoyed the marketing best of all, and writing reports.
The couple divorced in 2005. Julie was ready for a change in scenery and a rest from business. Her mother had moved to Sarasota in 1993, and Julie decided she would move to Sarasota to be close to her. It was a move that would change her life.
I came here for respite. I was not looking to meet anyone. I was not looking to do anything else necessarily in my life, but I was a little too young, a little too ambitious, not ready to just sit around and enjoy the beach and tennis, so I decided that I needed to look into doing something. But then I also met my husband, and that was very unexpected. I didn't think I would ever meet someone again that I would marry, let alone someone that quickly.
I met Julie 13 years ago. We met in Sarasota, and she was here visiting her mother. We met at Michael's on East.
I saw him again a few weeks later at the Ritz. And when we were at the Ritz, he told me he was going to come over and take my phone number, and he never did. But he had given me his business card first. So when he never came over to take my phone number, I went back to find him, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, here's your card. And he said, why are you giving it back to me? And I said, because I won't use it. He said, what do you mean? And I said, I don't call men, men call me.
We got together a couple of times after that. We had dinner at my home. The week after that, we flew to the Atlantis Hotel in Bahamas. Had a great weekend, and it got very serious after that very quickly.
He brought me to the Capitol Grill up in Tampa for dinner, and all of a sudden he gets on his knee in the middle of the restaurant and proposes. It was very sweet.
We were married 2.5 years after we first met. So we were married about 1.5 years after the engagement.
We got married in 2007 at Lakewood Ranch Country Club. It was beautiful. I had my family there and his family and close friends, and we just had a very fun time. It was great. It was a beautiful wedding.
That same year, she and Ron embarked on a business venture that would provide her an opportunity to grow with the Sarasota community.
Scene was on the market for the first time in its history, and I thought, what a fun thing to do. It was a great way to learn the community. It would be a great way to meet people and for me to learn my new town. And I was right in some aspects, but it wasn't easy at all. It was a lot of hard work, and so when we took it on, I realized pretty quickly just how much goes into putting out a monthly publication. It's a lot of work, but never one to shy away from a lot of work. I was ready for the task.
I've been in business for myself since I was 30 years old, and we talked about it, and we saw something there, and we saw that we could take it to a different level, and we've taken it to many different levels since we've had the magazine.
Founded in 1957, Sarasota Scene is the community's longest-running locally owned magazine. The publication had been a popular feature in the Sarasota community. However, Julie felt it would better serve the community by making changes in its presentation and content.
Definitely needed more stories about people. People still want to see people photos. People will always want to see people photos, so that will never go away. But they also want to learn more about people. They want to hear the stories. So for me, I just put myself into the position, what do I want to read about? And that's what I want to know. I want to know who lives here, who's making a difference. And that's what I've geared our content around to be. The programs that are making a difference, the people, everything. So You know, I just stayed true to that, and I knew I needed to make a design change as well, which I did, and that's been a bit of an evolution, and I think it's come along nicely.
You know, when Julie came to town, I remember we spent a little time together, and we were talking. She wanted to make, how could she make scene relevant, and she really did. She said, you know, I'm going to talk about philanthropy in my column every time. I'm going to make this about how our community engages together in supporting great causes. And I loved that, because when you look at Sarasota and you look at our region, people come here not just for the beautiful weather, not just for the beaches, but they come here because we've got arts organizations. We've got ways for people to stay connected to each other through social and human services and charitable related causes. And Julie's generosity in making that part of every Scene magazine is just fantastic. It strengthens the fabric of our community.
There's a little bit of a dichotomy here, because she's definitely a strong leader and can be autocratic at times, but generally she's highly collaborative. She wants input from everybody. She wants alternative ideas. She wants everybody fully engaged and bought into whatever it is that we're actually working on at that particular moment.
I met Julie roughly 11 years ago when I returned to Sarasota from Atlanta, and I took on the job as their VP of Sales and Marketing. Having been the publisher of the Pelican Press in the past, I knew exactly what it took, and I was immediately impressed with her commitment to the community, her ability to deal with businesses in a mutually beneficial way, and just how brilliant she was.
One of the most fun things for me is when I help businesses, whether it be a profit or a nonprofit business, get their message out and help them with that messaging. I love to get involved in that and make recommendations and help them with copy and help them with their look and what they're doing and what they're saying about themselves. That I love.
I'm new to Sarasota, new to the media environment here, and the thing that struck me the most is when people in the community talk about the evolution of the magazine and how Julie's leadership has matured the magazine, made it much more readable, much more interesting. The stories and the quality of the content have generally exceeded themselves 1 month after the next. The covers look great. The photography looks great. The people she chooses to profile in the community are of interest to everybody. And so when I talk to people in the community, they talk about Scene magazine being the preeminent magazine in terms of readership in the community.
She's just a creative thinker. I mean, that's the best way that I can describe it. She's just such a creative thinker, and it's always about an angle to benefit others.
Since owning the magazine, the Miltons have given back well over $1 million in advertising space to both arts and human service organizations.
We are proud supporters of the arts in this community, and much of my content is focused around the arts as well. And people love it, and that's why people come here. It's so important to who we are as a community.
They are partners with the Arts and Cultural Alliance in developing what we call the Guide to Arts and Culture, which is a publication that we put out for the Tourist Development Council as a part of being able to attract tourists to Sarasota County through the arts. And the expertise that Julie and her staff have been able to bring to us has really added greatly to the value of that publication for us.
I've been fortunate to be chair of the Arts and Cultural Alliance here in Sarasota for a number of years. And this is so important to the fabric of this city because of the fact we are a real cultural hub, and the arts and culture are what make us so different from any other beach community in Florida. And that is really what drives the fact that so many people move here, and why those who do move here fall in love with this community. So that Arts and Culture Guide is really important for people to have an understanding not only of the breadth of the arts and culture here, but also when things are going to happen. So we've been a big partner with her on that arts and culture guide.
The significance for the community on the guide is that we print 40,000 copies a year that are distributed through the hotels, the visitor centers, through all types of places where people are entering the community as tourists, because the whole goal there is to be able to drive tourism through the benefits of the tourist bed tax, which is generated by those people who are coming here to visit. So it really helps us maximize the dollars that the taxpayers entrust us with.
I have great relationships with many nonprofits in this town, and I support them wholeheartedly, and I try to give them as much donation as I can in the magazine to support their mission and their causes, and I'm happy to do that.
She's taken a real interest in the Women's Exchange and how it functions, and she's played a critical role in getting our message out into the public. The Women's Exchange is so often underrated, and she was able to bring the true story about, and I appreciate it.
One of our interests as an institution is to help our students get these sort of real-world experiences working with real-world clients, and so she has helped enable that with a number of our creative students in creative writing, also in graphic design, and so forth. She's helped make those kinds of connections.
She really cares about the community and looks and listens and watches, and she attends so many different events, and if she doesn't attend the events, she sends somebody there. So she really, I think, has a wonderful look at microcosm of what the community is like, and then she sees how she can be supportive. And I know she's just been wonderfully supportive in me working with stopping child abuse and now with the new foster care paradigm. So I just am truly indebted to her, because if she wasn't telling people about what we were doing, and I mean we, the community and the incredible organizations there are in this town, many wouldn't even know that what we were doing, and so I am eternally grateful.
SEEN has a responsibility to be a keeper of the history in this town. When I look back at our archives, I realize how important a lot of these stories are. Because people who are in business even today, I'll look back at things that happened in their business 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and I have it. And I can share it with them. And they're excited to see that. That makes me so happy.
She's my rock. She's the rock of this magazine, SEEN magazine. And the magazine has evaluated itself for the last 11 years because of her. And she is SEEN magazine. Very, very passionate about the arts and the nonprofits and the people she's met over the years with the magazine. And just a terrific family person, very caring person.
I could not have chosen a better way to meet the people that I have met, to learn what I have learned, to feel the passion of the people in this city, to know what they're all about, to hear their life stories. This is what excites me about what I do, and I never get tired of it.
The couple had the opportunity to acquire another iconic Sarasota establishment, Café L'Europe on St. Armands Circle, which had been established in 1973.
You know, my husband and I used to eat at Café L'Europe so much, and we loved it there. We'd been going so many years, and my husband used to joke with the owner, whenever you're ready to sell, whenever you're ready to sell. Well, one day she came to us and said, I'm ready to sell. And we looked at one another and said, well, now what do we do? So after talking back and forth, Ron decided, why not? It'll be fun. Our food's incredible, the wines are incredible, everyone has great experiences there, and we're so grateful for the support of the community. And to own two iconic businesses in this town has been a joy.
Her love of sports continues to this day, as she is an avid tennis player. Along with her mother and Ron, the light of her life is her little mini schnauzer, Missy Milton, who joins her at work every day.
This is Missy Milton. She's 8 years old. She's my little mini schnauzer, and Ron and I just love her so much. We take her everywhere with us, and she comes to work every day. She greets everyone at the door, and don't you love her little underbite?
We asked Julie Milton her advice for those who follow.
I've been blessed to be around so many people who have positively supported me in my life and who have told me I can do anything that I set my mind to do. Don't be afraid. Do it. Good things happen to people who put themselves out there, who take the risks. And this was a risk for me. It was something I never did before. But when you have good work ethic, when you put your mind, heart, and soul into it, you'll be surprised what you can accomplish. And my advice to anyone out there who is thinking about entering a business maybe they never did before, or they weren't sure if they could do it, or it was a huge investment, take the risk. Just know in your heart, if you're good, if you do the right thing, and you work hard, it'll all work out for you.